This video explains how to navigate the Lessons view in Content. Easily navigate your course content with a simultaneous display of the table of contents and course activities. In the Lessons view, the table of contents displays on the left side of your screen. Click on a unit to view all the course activities associated with it. Navigate through each unit's activities by clicking on them in the table of contents and viewing the content on the right side of your screen. Check your progress as you go. The table of contents shows check marks next to completed topics and displays fractional progress to help you stay on track. You can also see due dates. Hover to view more availability details in the tooltip. Use the content view to move smoothly through your course while tracking your completion progress. Thanks for watching. This video demonstrates how to take and submit a quiz in Brightspace. Use the Quizzes tool to take a quiz and review your quiz results. In Content, navigate to the quiz you want to take. Click Start Quiz to open the quiz summary page. Review the page and click Start Quiz. Your quiz may display all questions on one page, a set of questions, or one question per page. Note the quiz timer at the upper right as you take your quiz. When you finish your quiz, click Submit Quiz to complete your quiz submission. If your instructor allows it, you will see your quiz result on the submission page. Some questions that require grading, like long answer, will not show a result until your instructor grades it. Review your quiz results and click Done. Your quiz result is displayed in Content when you select the quiz in the module.
Review quiz questions, their answers, and instructor feedback from the submission view of a quiz. This tutorial shows how to read the feedback provided in a quiz's submission view. The submission view may be immediately available after submitting a quiz, or from class progress at a later time. Submission views help you review the results of a quiz and may include questions answered correctly, questions answered incorrectly, questions without responses, questions with responses, and the correct answer. When reviewing a question in the submission view, checkmarks indicate your answers, X's indicate incorrect answers, and arrows indicate correct answers, as set by the instructor. Navigate to, and click Done to exit the submission view. Review quiz questions, their answers, and instructor feedback from the submission view of a quiz.
This video demonstrates how to submit and confirm an assignment submission using the Content tool. Easily access your assignment details directly within your course material. In Content, navigate to the module where your assignment lives. The page includes the instructions, evaluation criteria, and submission details for your assignment. Ensure you have read this information before submitting your assignment. Scroll down to the My Work section. To add a file that lives in Brightspace, click Add a File. You can also upload a file from your device by clicking the File Upload field. Click Submit. The successfully submitted message appears and your assignment appears at the bottom of the My Work section to confirm your assignment has been submitted. Scroll to the top of the page to view the Submitted Pending Evaluation status for your submitted assignment.
Welcome to Brightspace, where your learning journey begins. Your organization, or org structure, is a hierarchical structure within Brightspace, made up of individual org units that are arranged in parent-child relationships. Within every org structure, there is a mandatory organizational level that houses the rest of the org unit levels underneath. These levels are not accessible for most users, but are still important for different functions you will perform, such as course categorization, reporting, and enrollments. Starting at the highest point of your org structure is the organizational level, also known as My Home. This level is where most users land after they log in. At this level, you will enroll users, create courses, and define common elements for all users, such as a default home page. Nested under the institution level are optional custom org units that you can use to represent individual categories. These can be different schools or locations within an organization. Next up are departments, which are mandatory org units categorizing courses, like music or math. Then you have course templates. These mandatory org units represent the types of courses that are offered, for example, Music 100 and Music 200, or Grade 4 and Grade 5. Course offerings are any course you create in Brightspace where learners are enrolled, and where they access their learning materials. Learners may be divided further into group or section levels. Course offerings must be the child of a course template, but may also be the child of a semester org unit. Semesters don't control course offering dates. Instead, they group courses to allow more flexibility in data reporting, such as grouping courses offered in a specific year. Your org structure is customizable in its composition, so it can best fit your institution's purpose.
The organization, or org structure, is a hierarchical structure comprised of individual org units that are arranged in parent-child relationships. This tutorial provides an example overview of a basic org structure and its org units while discussing how you can use this structure to organize your higher education institution in D2L learning environment. This is an example of a basic org structure. The organization, department, course template, and course offering org units are required. All other org units are optional ways to define the hierarchy. We will discuss each org unit individually. First, we will discuss the organization org unit, which is highlighted in orange. The organization org unit, also known as the My Home page in D2L learning environment, is the highest level of the structure and represents your entire institution. At this level, you can define elements that will be common to all users throughout the entire institution, such as the default homepage. For this example, we look at the org structure for the fictional University of Springfield. Next, we'll look at custom org units. You can tailor custom org units to create an additional level or levels of structure between the organization and department org units. For example, custom org units could divide the organization into distinct campuses or schools. These optional org units can be parallel or hierarchical to each other. If you have multiple campuses, it can be helpful to divide your org structure by these locations if they host a unique set of course offerings. For example, the main campus and the media lab are custom org units that comprise the overall institution. Departments are mandatory org units that divide the org level or custom org units. Department org units organize courses and learners within the overall hierarchy. You can define these org units however you'd like. For example, a department org unit can represent a subject or progress level. In this example, the department org units house the English and Anthropology departments. Next, we will discuss course templates. Course templates add an extra level of structure between departments and course offerings. They act as a container that collects related course offerings. Note, course templates and course offerings have a parent-child relationship. Course offerings must be the child of a course template. For example, University of Springfield offers a multitude of English classes, including English 101 and English 200. Course templates group together course offerings that fall under the same subject number. Next, we will discuss course offerings. Course offerings are the courses in which learners are enrolled and where they access their learning materials. In general, a course offering is populated by instructors. Learners access course offerings from the organization homepage using the course selector on the minibar. In this example, University of Springfield offers two versions of English 200, A and B. You can further subdivide course offerings into sections. Sections allow administrators or instructors to divide a course offerings roster into chunks. This is especially useful for dividing large rosters into more manageable units. One course offering can be subdivided into multiple sections. In this example, English 200A is subdivided into two sections to manage the large number of learners enrolled in the course. Groups provide an additional layer of structure to the hierarchy. Groups divide a course offering for the purpose of group work. You can create multiple categories for groups and enroll learners into one or more groups. Note, sections divide the class list into distinct chunks. Groups allow organized collaboration. In this example, the class is divided into two collaborative groups for a project. Finally, we will discuss semesters. Semesters are an optional org unit. You can use semesters to divide course offerings into time-based categories. Dividing course offerings into semesters allows administrators to search for course offerings that are being offered within a specified time period. For this example, the org structure depicts the course offerings for the fall 2014 semester. Org structures are flexible in their composition. You can tailor org units to best fit your institution's purpose. This is an example of an out-of-the-box organization structure. You can customize additional org units to structure your institution. As a best practice, you should liaise with D2L implementation consultants to design and create the ideal organization structure.
Hi, Kate. Just wanted to send you a quick video here going over the BCC process just as a refresher since I'm going to be out and we have a bunch of courses you're going to have to create. And I'm just going to go through a couple things with you as a reminder. And I'm going to start with our compliance courses for today. So as you may recall, we're looking at using the BCC to create our courses rather quickly so you don't have to do each one manually. And so I've got my environment open, and I've also got my Excel file, an empty one, open in the background. I'm going to use Excel for this. We have to remember we have to use a CSV file. So this is going to be a great way to do it. It makes it nice and easy rather than using something like Notepad, which I could use, but I just think it's a little bit easier to use Excel. So I'm going to pop in all the information that I need. So just a reminder, there are very specific fields that have to go in here, and what I like to do first is I like to just take those out of the sample file that we get on either the community site, so we can go to the Brightspace community and get that sample file, or even inside of our own environment. So if I go into my course selector and jump into our bulk tools course down here, I got my Brightspace bulk tools course, I can jump into that. And in there, I'm going to have my directions for this process. So if you forget, you can always refer back to this. I've also got a sample BCC file that I could download. I always find it's easier to download it to look at it. And that will tell me all the different things that I need. So we're going to use this course not only as the means to get information if we forget how to do something, but this is also where we'll actually do the upload. So we'll come back to here in just a minute. But for now, I'm going to start with my CSV file. So I'm going to jump in and actually put my header from my sample file in here. And I like to do this before I get going just to have it. But remember, when you put this file into the environment, you can delete that row out. You don't need it. But I like to have it just to remind myself what's going where. So we have our course code, our course name, our semester code, template name, department code, course path, active status, and linked to existing. It sounds like a lot, but remember we're saving a ton of time by not having to go back and do all this manually. So in the end, it's going to actually be a really big boon to us in terms of how much time we have left. So we have to have some of this stuff. Some of it we don't have to have, like this linked to existing, we could leave out, or you can put something in there, which I'll show you what that is in just a minute. But we do have to have our course code. We do have to have the course name. Semester code is not required. We can leave that out. Template code and template name, we got to have those, but if they don't exist yet, you can put in that brand new template code and template name, and that'll create it at the same time. So don't forget that. If you need to build a new template at the same time as your courses, then that'll take care of it for you. So just a great way to also save some time. Your department code has to be there. So what does that mean for you? It means don't forget to go in and make sure that department actually exists and that you've got the right code for it, because you'd hate to put this in and not have it work. Course path, remember that's where we store an export file if we wanted to populate our new course with material. We're not going to do that with these courses we're building right now, but it can be a fast way to not only build our course, but also to take a bunch of content and material from that course and populate it at the same time as building it. So it's useful, but we're not going to use it today. We do have to have the active status. That's either going to be true or false, just like that linked to existing, which is just going to decide if we're linking this to a specific template, which again, we're not. So we can either put false or leave it blank. So let's take a look at it. So for my first one, I'm going to put in my course code here. That's going to be my workplace harassment code. Then I'll grab my course name, put that in the course name field. Semester code I'm going to leave blank, and I'm just going to jump over to my template code and then jump into the template name. The good news is I'm going to use the same one for all of these, and so will you. So that'll make life pretty easy. And then I'm going to use my department code. So I've already gone in. I made sure my department's there. I got my code right out of the org unit editor. If I'm in a hurry, I can just jump into there and grab it if I don't already know it. And then course path, I'm going to say none because I don't need anything for that. And then active status is going to be true. I want to be able to access this. And then linked to existing is going to be false or blank, doesn't matter. And that's it. That's it. That's the course that I want to create. Now, if I have more, I can very easily come in here and populate all that. So actually, let's just grab the rest of the courses that I need and just make this real fast. So there they all are. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this as a CSV file. So file, I'm going to do a save as instead of a regular save, and we're going to call this CSV. So let's find that on our list, CSV. All right, and we're going to just put that under compliance courses, and I'm going to find the right place for that, which is just going to be my documents here. Perfect. And now we've saved it. Great. So that file is done. Let's get that out of there. I'm actually going to close it up. So now that that's there, remember the next step is to come into your Brightspace Bulk Tools course and go up to the Manage Files area. So right up top, we're going to go into that. So don't forget that's your friend. So we'll click on that one. And from there, we're going to find the bulk process we want to run. Today, we're running the BCC, but we could also do other stuff. Remember, we could come in here and we could do the CCB, that copy course bulk, if we wanted to grab a bunch of material and populate it into new courses via the copy process. We could also do a bulk course export and more, but let's not worry about it. Today, remember, I only want you to focus on your BCC. So I'm going to click on the BCC folder here, where we have our inbox, our outbox, the course packages, and the logs. Remember, the course packages is where I would put an export from one of my Brightspace courses if I wanted to populate that into my new courses that I'm building. Not doing that today. Don't worry about it. Don't fret. Don't have to get in there and deal with that at all. All we really need to worry about today is the inbox. So let's click on the inbox folder, which is going to be empty, and then we're going to upload that new file that we just created. And so I'm just going to drag and drop it in here just as a time saver, since we have the handy little drag and drop box. And I'll save that. That's it. I'm done for today. Once I've done that, I've got my CSV file formatted correctly, which we went over. I've got that file in the inbox. It's not up to me now. Tonight, that file is going to process. And then tomorrow, that's the big deal. That's when I can come in and I can come back to that BCC folder and go to the outbox. And that's where I'm going to see any of those files that I've processed, including my most recent one. And I can look at it. If I know it's there, I know the process was completed. And then if I need to say, check on my work, which is always a good thing to do, I can pop into my logs and I can find the log from my most recent transaction, moving it from the inbox to the outbox. Once it was processed, the log will tell me if there were any errors I got to worry about. So I can check that out tomorrow too. But for now, we're done. We got the file created. We got it in here. We're set. Have a great night. If you have any questions, let me know. Bye.
Welcome to Brightspace, where your learning journey begins. The primary function of an administrator in Brightspace is setting up and maintaining roles and permissions. Permissions specify the actions a user can and cannot take within your Brightspace learning environment. This means you can define how and what your users are able to interact with, such as other users, or allowing users to view, manage, or participate with a tool. Roles are collections of permissions that support a distinct function within your Brightspace learning environment. Each role only has access to tools they are explicitly given permission to view, manage, or participate in. There are three primary conceptual roles within Brightspace. Administrators manage the system and can access most admin tools. Instructors create course content and monitor the learners enrolled in their courses, and learners participate in courses. Additionally, your users may have more than one role within Brightspace. For example, a user could be enrolled as an instructor in one course and a learner in another. You can also create specialized custom roles when you need a blend of permissions for activities such as course development or facilitation. Roles and permissions are customizable in composition so they can best fit your institution's purpose.
So on the topic of roles and permissions, there's a lot of thought that goes into what permissions are appropriate to give to the certain roles, and naturally with good cause too. You don't want to over-permission people and kind of create chaos within the environment. The easiest role to set up, of course, is the administrator role. You're just thinking top dog. If there's an empty checkbox, let's fix that and put a check mark in it, because what shouldn't an administrator be able to do? And I would agree with you for 99% of the checkboxes that you see there. Yeah, if it's empty, go on and check it, because you want to give yourself some permissions to just to be able to, you don't want to be missing out on anything that's there. There are some exceptions for this though. There is permission for being able to complete assignments. There's a permission for being able to take quizzes, for being able to complete or take surveys. Those are ones that anybody who's not a learner should not have. And I'll say that again just for clarity. Make sure that administrators, instructors, facilitators, those kinds of roles should not have those permissions, because anybody with them shows up in the list of people who have or have not done it. So for example, if you go into the assignments tool in a course and you click on assignment 1, pretending that there is an assignment 1 there, you'll see a list of people's names and then links to go in and evaluate them. The names that show there are a result of the permission to be able to complete or take an assignment. So you want to make sure that you aren't there as an administrator, or else your name would appear in every course is somebody who has not done the assignments. I assume you're not going in and doing those assignments. And because of your cascading nature of your role, you are enrolled everywhere, so you would show up in everywhere. So you wouldn't show up in the class list, you wouldn't show up in the gradebook, but you would show up in the assignments tool when people click in to go to an individual assignment. So those permissions themselves are, I would just declare them as important, critical even, for everybody's sanity to make sure that you don't give yourself those permissions. There's a couple of extra maybe kind of nice to have ones to think about. There's one for being able to, under the home pages category, there's force home pages. This is an ability, you probably read this in another area or visited it in another part of this program, to one of the options you have for your home pages is not only to set the active one or the default one, but you can also force so that every org unit in Brightspace is locked to the same home page. So if they were using something unique, they're all pushed over and you can't go into that course and flip it over. So it literally is locking the home page. This is not the same level of importance as with assignments and quizzes and surveys. However, I would deem it maybe something good to think about because all it takes is, I think, 3 clicks. You click the drop down, you click force home page, you click a yes to confirm it, and then all your home pages in your organization are set and using the same one. And if you're thinking, that's not what I intended to do, and you want to backtrack from that, there isn't an automatic way to do that. You will have to go to every course, and if you knew what it was, put it back to what it was. It's unlikely that would be the case. So this is not actually a bad permission. In fact, I'd say it's maybe even a good idea to make sure that your role doesn't have this permission. It's there. It's not dangerous, but it gives me a little bit of pause, and I just feel a bit safer not having it. I never have the need to invoke that kind of magic within the environment. Other ones that show up that are in similar nature, there's a course reset permission. So this is another one to think about. This is one I typically leave on for myself just because it takes a lot of clicks to wipe out the content of a course, like to totally reset a course to its beginning stage. But it might be a bit more anxiety inducing for you. So you can make that judgment for yourself if that's appropriate or not. So remember that just because you're an admin, you're thinking this is an easy role. It is. And I can give myself all permissions. You shouldn't. There are those exceptions to think about.
I'd like to talk a little bit about the bulk options that you'll find in Brightspace. The bulk tools that we use to create courses and users not only vary a little bit in their workflow, but also how they report on the success of any aspect of the process. In the case of an issue with either of these, I often get questions about how can one find the errors that might have occurred when performing a bulk action. But before I dig into that, let me explain what a typical error might be. For a bulk user management file, the problem might be that we have an org unit code that doesn't match an existing org unit. For our bulk course create process, the issue might be that we've misidentified the department that we're trying to connect to. Those sorts of problems will cause an error in the file when we go to run it. The primary difference, however, is that when you look at the results of these two workflows, they present in very different ways. In the case of the bulk user management tool, as that process is run immediately upon execution, the validation component that occurs during the workflow is important because the filter link next to the search field allows one to quickly limit the results to just those rows that might have thrown an error during the process. The bulk course create workflow is different in a lot of ways, but when we're talking about catching any errors that occurred, this is often going to be realized by looking at the logs that are present. The primary distinction between these two workflows, bulk user management and bulk course create, is that the bulk course create process is run overnight, and rather than having the ability to validate results on the fly, an admin needs to go back and look at the logs. So it's important to go into the bulk course create area when the process is complete, which would typically be the following day after the file has been added to the system, and look for the logs folder, where you may need to reorder by the most recent file. When you find the one from the day you ran your file, open up the text file and take a look. There you'll see, hopefully, just a lot of lines of info letting you know what happened. But you'll also quickly notice if there are any errors present. This will allow you to go back and determine whether you need to just fix one or two things in the file, or if it was something that was way off with it when it was added into the system. It's rare, but knowing that having just a letter off in the department name could throw your whole file off is worth keeping that logs area in mind. Armed with that information, your bulk process has become a little bit easier to manage.